Some people are ready to buy, but are not quite there as far as how much they've got in the bank and so forth like that. I think that probably financing is the biggest thing we have to walk them through. We really need good finance companies to team up with so that we can get those difficult deals through.
Welcome to the Dream Home Podcast, the show where real estate meets real talk. Hosted by John Nagle, a seasoned expert with over $7 billion in real estate financing experience. This podcast features top realtors, builders, and financial pros. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we've got the tools to help you make smarter moves. Here's your host, John Nagle.
Hey everybody, this is John Nagle from CMG Home Loans, and you're listening to the Dream Home Podcast, the show that dives into the people, neighborhoods, and strategies that help turn your dream of homeownership into reality. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Raymond Giamporcaro, or as his clients and friends call him, Ray G. Ray is the team leader of the SunSpot team at eXp Realty, a top 100 agent out of 7,000 agents, a U.S. Navy veteran, a technical scuba diver, a musician, and someone who brings a powerful mix of leadership, service, and innovation to real estate. Ray specializes in luxury homes, foreclosures, short sales, and investment properties across Florida, particularly in Brevard and Volusia and Orange counties. We're going to dig into what makes Ray one of the most trusted agents in Florida, hear some unforgettable client stories, and tap into his advice for buyers, sellers, and investors alike. So grab your coffee. You won't want to miss this one. And good morning, Ray. Thanks again for joining us, and thanks so much for your service to our country.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me here today.
Yes, awesome. So Ray, let's kick this one off with your superpowers. What is it that sets the SunSpot team apart in such a competitive Florida market?
Well, we are very, very attentive. We have a team of experts that we build around every deal. We start every deal with education so that our clients know what to expect and know what can happen. Not everything will, but we like to cover things that commonly can occur during the course of the sale. We do a lot of listings, so that gives me a great opportunity to meet with people and start right there with their understanding of what's ahead.
Awesome. So you're in the top 5% of agents in Brevard County and have closed over $42 million in sales. What do you think that one skill or mindset that's made the biggest difference in your success?
Well, my good friend Thomas Edison said it best. Success is 90% perspiration. Yes, 90% perspiration, 10% inspiration. It almost doesn't matter how smart you are in this business. You have to have the energy and the attention to detail that is necessary to get your clients from point A to point B, from gee, I want to buy a house, to gee whiz, we bought a house. And to keep them out of trouble. That's a really big deal. There's loads of pitfalls in the industry. And again, it's all energy. I teach classes from time to time, and people ask me how I do it. I tell them the mechanics. I show them the mechanics, and they say, well, why is it that so many people can't do this? Because it's really simple. And I say it's the amount of energy you put into it. So that energy translates into things like great Google reviews and repeat customers and all sorts of referrals from both other agents who know they can trust me and my former clients.
Yep. Well, it's a good formula, that is for sure. So helping buyers and sellers navigate the real estate journey isn't always smooth sailing. Can you share how you help clients who are overwhelmed or facing unique challenges?
Well, the most, I don't know if any challenges are unique, quite honestly. I think that most people have a lot of a combination of the challenges that occurred during this process. Some people are ready to buy, but are not quite there as far as how much they've got in the bank and so forth like that. I think that Probably financing is the biggest thing we have to walk them through. We really need good finance companies to team up with so that we can get those difficult deals through. But I'll tell you, when these young couples come to me and say, and they're not always young, I'll tell you about one in a second, but these young couples come up to me and they've got the dreams of home ownership, getting their first house. It always chokes me up. I always want to do a great job for them and get them that house. So,
yeah, it's a super rewarding, isn't it? Especially with those first-time home buyers to help them achieve that dream.
it sure is. And I remember when I was a first-time home buyer and how much that means to me today. If I hadn't done that, probably when I did, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it builds family wealth. And it's the first step toward that family wealth and not living paycheck to paycheck. So,
absolutely. So you've also been deeply involved in the community, from founding Renew Healing Inc. to working with veterans. Tell us how that mission-driven mindset shows up in your real estate work.
Renew Healing was the 501c3 that I invented. I drafted a bunch of my old buddies, going back as far as first grade, actually. Some of these people, and we teamed up to create a veterans organization that would address homelessness and actually the veteran suicide rate. Unfortunately, we really didn't make a dent in that suicide rate, and thousands of organizations like ours try every day to do this. What our company did was we worked with organizations that took people out of homelessness and put them in shelters. And what we would try to do, it wasn't always successful, is get these people out of those shelters into their own digs. And so I guess I was in real estate back then too, into their own digs, and then get them a job so that they could support it. The ones that really did want to break free from that vice, we worked with them and sent them to school. And we sent them for things like electronics technician, but our big push was machinist. The machinist school was about 1.5 years long. We got it mostly paid for through donations. The veteran would have a little bit of skin in the game. I found that worked better. But when they got out of that machinist school, they were making $85,000 a year, and that was back in 2017.
Oh my goodness!
So it really was a life-changing thing. Very, very difficult. I found that the reason that I was not as successful as I should have been is I'm a really, really bad fundraiser. I threw galas and I did all sorts of things. I never brought enough money in to do more than work with a few veterans at a time, and nobody in the organization took a salary for its entire existence. So, including me.
Oh, that's a powerful story, and how exciting and rewarding to have such a success with the training, the machinist, to be able to impact someone's life by that much. It's just amazing.
It was very good. Unfortunately, I had to get a job. So at some point I couldn't work for free anymore. And I was out raising money, actually, and this is how it happened. I was out at a Rotary Club, and I gave my pitch, and I said, "This is what we're doing with your money when you donate it." And one guy at the end in the question answer raised his hand and said, "I'd like to teach your veterans to become real estate agents." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Let's talk." So he didn't really teach me. He told me what school to go to, and the rest is kind of history. So,
wow, that's amazing. What an interesting way to get into the real estate business. So I love this part of this show. Let's talk about something awesome, Ray. Tell us about a client or project that really left an impact on you.
Let's see. That would have to be, honestly, there's been so many. I can't tell you that I love one client more than another. I do get to be good friends with my clients, and they usually keep in touch with me afterwards. I had a family once that really wanted to move. They wanted more land. They already had a nice house, but it was not big enough for them, and they wanted their kids to be able to run. They wanted to be able to kind of build a farm. And sorry about that, my clock is chiming. um, so we went and looked at a number of places, really couldn't find anything suitable. And then we found one that had just the right land, and it was a brand new construction. And we went into the house and they fell in love with it. Well, I didn't. And it was really badly built. And I was afraid that somebody had built it and they didn't know what a level or a square was or anything like that. It was really bockety. And I was afraid that because of the way structures are, that it would give them all kinds of problems down the road. So I pointed all these things out to him. And I said, you can buy this house, but I'd rather you didn't buy it through me. Well, they didn't, and we ended up finding them something else. But that was kind of that was a lot of convincing that it took them not to buy that house. And I'm glad to this day that I did. They are too. Believe me, I don't know if that house is even still standing. But that is kind of how I operate. I don't. Yeah, I almost don't sell houses. If that makes any sense. I will walk into a house and I will say, if I like it and it's structurally sound and everything else, yeah, I'll sing its praises. But if I see things that are wrong with it, I'm going to point it out to you. You're not going to buy a house through me without knowing what you're doing. So.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. Well, that's really a great example of putting the home buyer's interest first before your own. And, bravo to you. And I'm like you say, I'm sure that they have greatly appreciated that, knowing, that they're in this home that they're not going to have these kinds of issues with.
Yeah, that story is actually a continuing thing. They ended up moving out of state. So we sold their house here. They moved to Arkansas. And now the husband has gotten a job in the Tampa area. So they called me up and they said, gee, we don't want anybody else to do this. We need to find a house. So we are under contract with their new home in Manatee County right now. So it's going to be my first house in Manatee County. So.
Okay, awesome. So what keeps you motivated and inspired after all these years in real estate and entrepreneurship?
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. When I got out of the Navy, Navy education was not it wasn't looked at the same way as it is today. They just felt that if you were gone for 6 years in the Navy, that you were kind of backpacking across Europe for 6 years. So, but that's not true at all. Navy schools are college level schools. They are 4-year college level schools that are condensed into 2 years. That's what you do. There's not a lot of people on a ship, so you end up having to learn the whole ship. So, the schools that I went to were not accredited, so I couldn't really get a job. So I started a business, and I tried getting jobs. I worked for minimum wage. I did all sorts of things when I left the Navy. But I ended up starting a company, an IT company, and it was very early on. And I ran that company for 20 years in New York. When I came to Florida, I worked for another IT company for a while, and I started Renew Healing, which was more commonly known as Counseling to Careers, Our Veterans and Families. And I did that for a while. But then I realized that I was not going to be able to do this forever. It just wasn't something I was able to do. So what motivates me today is the same thing that motivated me with my very first customer when I left the military. It's their dreams. I don't really, if someone calls me up and says, hey, I'm looking for a 3-2 in Melbourne, Florida, that's not really enough information. I get to know the people and find out what their motivations are. Everyone has a dream. If that dream is, gee, I want my first home and I need it to be near these schools, or that dream is I want to buy my third home and I've got two more in two other states. I need to know those things. So those dreams are what motivates me. Their dream becomes my dream. I work to achieve that dream in the end, and I feel like I am more of a co-buyer or a co-seller when I'm working with my clients. Their dreams are the most important, and they are exactly what motivates me.
That's awesome. So you lead a tech-forward team with roots in engineering and IT. What resources, tools, or systems do you use to make the experience smoother for your clients?
Well, you can find me and my listings on homes.com. There's one of the places. And that is something that I spend money on because it makes a big difference for my clients. Houses don't sell as fast as they used to. Some neighborhoods are up around 100 days on the market or more these days. When you list with me, I don't want you to be on the market 100 days down the road because that is a lot of wear and tear on your emotions and everything else. You've got to vacate your house all the time. You've got to, make sure that the cats don't get out. There's all sorts of things that happen over that 100 days. So I try really hard. I'm not always successful, but I try really hard to put all of the blocks in place so that the advertising for these houses is right out there in front. Where most real estate agents will get you 400 or 500 views over the first month, it's not uncommon for us to be in the hundreds of thousands of views.
Oh, wow.
There's two parts to selling a house. There is pricing it right, very, very important, and advertising. If no one sees the house, it's not going to sell. If it's not priced right, when they come to see the house, they're not going to buy it. So I have to work with my clients to make sure that price is right for that particular house at that particular moment in time. So how do I do that? I use all sorts of resources that are paid subscriptions. The MLS is a huge database structure. And I use that for research and fundamentals. It has a system called RPR, which helps me to price things. And over the years, I'll tell you, when I was a first new agent, I was scared to death of pricing houses. These days, I'm pretty sure that when I put a price on a house, it's going to appraise about $2,000 difference from there or less. So I'm very good at that, and I use these tools to do it. We also use a system called Market Leader, which helps us just keep track of our clients and make sure that we don't make you an orphan. There's nothing worse for a buyer than being ignored. So we try not to ignore people. And then the rest of it is really other people's systems. There are systems from our lenders, from our title company. We are we're very, very loyal to the people who close these loans and so forth with us, because without you, there is no happy day at the closing company. So those are the things that we use. We use more of those than most people do. Like I say, 90% or so of the agents out there are going to be attached to one MLS. We are subscribing to 28 different MLSs. We have MLS coverage from Jacksonville down to Indian River County and all the way over to Tampa. Again, most agents do not do that. They just subscribe to one MLS. If you do that, you're missing out on advertising to literally hundreds of thousands of agents.
Wow. Well, that's astounding. What a difference in the marketing to go from hundreds of views to hundreds of thousands. That's unbelievable. Wow. Terrific. And what about advice for investors or people curious about short sales and foreclosures? What should they know or prepare for?
Well, there are only certain houses that are going to be investment properties out there. Usually they're going to be off market. Those people are willing to let their house go for what it's worth to an investor. An investor needs to buy a house for less than a homeowner will. A homeowner can buy a house that needs $100,000 worth of work for $100,000 less, go in there and do the work over time, and they'll be okay because they're holding on to it. An investor obviously wants to make a profit on that. And if they are doing that, that's a break-even strategy. So what we try to do for them is tell them what the house will be worth in the condition that they describe to us. What I would say to investors is, if you're working with an agent, it doesn't have to be me. The description of what your house is going to look like when you're done with it has to be accurate. If you show me a house that looks pretty much the same after you're done with it, you're not going to get the price that I tell you you're going to get for it. So be very careful. Make sure you buy well. And watch your budget. However, do a good job. Don't be the kind of flipper that puts lipstick on it, because some poor family is going to move into that place and have to deal with the consequences of that sort of a flip.
So that's a great point. So walk us through the experience someone has when they work with you from that first call to closing day. What's it like working with Ray G and the SunSpot team?
Well, again, I ask a lot of questions. Usually, I will try and get an appointment because sitting down face to face with someone is it gives me a much greater impression of what their dream is. And just to take a seller, for instance, sellers sell for many, many different reasons. I need to know what that reason is and what kind of motivation. I also need to know how soon they need to sell it. Whether we should try a higher price, whether we should do a whole bunch of renovations before we put it on the market, that sort of thing. So what I do is I'll talk a little bit on the phone with people, and then I make an appointment. That appointment is usually a couple of hours long, quite frankly. And don't get scared of this, people out there, because this is really important. You don't want someone rushing in, finding out a few things, signing paperwork with you, and rushing out. By the time you're done with a listing appointment, you should know that this is the right agent for you. And if you don't, and it's me, then I understand. I'm not going over there to take a listing. I'm over there to see if we can work together. So when we get together, I generally speaking will take a look around the house, and I'll make a lot of notes because I'm going to use these notes down the road if you decide that you want to work with me. Then we sit down at a table, and I go through a booklet that I bring. This booklet is a seller's guide to selling your home. And it's very nice. It goes through all of the different things that we're going to do to sell your house, and then what you're going to do to help us sell that house as well. It's a hand in glove type of situation. Like, it's almost impossible to sell a house when the seller is unable to cooperate for one reason or another. So we find out if that cooperation is there. But education is the big deal. That booklet that we bring to the table it's comprehensive, and they get to keep it so they can refer back to it and see what's next in the process. Then we decide on if they say, yeah, I want to list with you. That's great. We sit down and we find out how much the house is worth, and I'll pull out a laptop, and we will look at all of the different houses that have sold in the price range and decide whether or not that is better than your house or not as good as your house, and whether that price would match your house or your house would be more or less. And then that's one of the ways that we price it. It gets more technical in the background, and I'm armed with that before I go in. And then once we found out the price, I go through every line of every page of the documents with them to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting into. Everything is a negotiation in real estate. Everything. So if you don't like something that's on the, I'm going to get myself in trouble. If you don't like something that's on the contract, then you can change it as long as you both agree to it. Okay. Sometimes I'll agree, sometimes I won't. Once we've negotiated that contract and everybody's happy, we will create a schedule based upon what they're going to do to the house, if anything, and then we'll actually have a go live date that we'll put on the calendar. After that, my assistant will send a welcome letter with all of the dates and all of the milestones that we've got to hit before we put this on the market. And then, of course, when it hits the market, the fun begins. So
that's awesome. So if someone's on the fence about buying, selling, or investing in this market, what's your best piece of advice?
I thought about this question a lot, actually. It's different for everybody. Motivation is the key. If you say, well, I'd really like to be near my grandchildren who are, in Nova Scotia by Christmas time. Why anybody would want to be in Nova Scotia at Christmas time, I don't know, but I'm sure it's beautiful. Anyway, if someone has a time frame, then we'll treat that situation a little differently than if someone is like, if I sell it, I sell it. If someone says I sell it, I may not even take the listing because they're not really motivated. And I spend a couple of $1,000s on a listing in advertising. So the one thing that I'd like everybody out there to know is real estate agents, be nice to your real estate agents. Not just me, be nice to your real estate agent, because what we do, about 95% of what we do for free. The only time we get paid is if we close a deal with you. So if you're working with a real estate agent and you really like that agent, then you should stay with that agent. You should appreciate the fact that they are doing a ton of work behind the scenes for you. Hours and hours and hours. Nobody works 5 days a week who's successful in real estate. We all work 7. And we're working for you. You don't see it. We're the duck on the pond. We wear these nice badges and we've got the nice haircuts and everything else. Walk into your house and we look like that duck on the pond. You don't see us paddling like crazy underwater. So, but that's that. So motivation is a really big deal. I don't try to convince people to buy or sell a house. I never do. They have to come and say to me, I want to sell or I want to buy. If someone wants to sell and now is the right time for them, we'll talk about that. And I'll tell you about the pros and cons of listing today. And so again, you will know everything I know by the time we're done with our conversation.
Wow, that's awesome. So this has been fantastic, Ray. Thank you for sharing your story, your wisdom, and the heart behind everything you do. For those listening, you can connect with Ray and the SunSpot team at the sunspotteam.com. We'll drop all the links in the show notes. And if you're looking to get pre-approved or explore your financing options, visit dreamhomepodcast.com or reach out to me at CMG Home Loans. We're here to help and make your home ownership dreams a reality. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Thank you for tuning in to the Dream Home Podcast. See you next time. And Ray, thanks again. We appreciate your taking time. This has really been a great time to visit with you today.
My pleasure. It was a lot of fun working with you today. And I hope everybody benefits from this out there.
Thanks for listening to the Dream Home Podcast, hosted by John Nagle. Ready to take the next step toward your dream home? Visit www.dreamhomepodcast.com for resources, tips, and expert advice. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and join us next time for more real estate insights and mortgage tips. Until then, happy home hunting.